Hello everyone and welcome to Jurassic June. Every June I try to do as much Jurassic Park / Jurassic World content as I can, and today it's going to be a bit of a longer video as we are looking at something pretty special and pretty big. Now I have some gameplay stuff lined up as well for this month, and I'm trying to get through Beyond the Gates as best I can in a timely fashion. We have a lot of catch up to do since we rebooted this playlist. I hope you guys are ready, because this featurette is it's one of the ones I looked at when I first started doing Jurassic content, and it's got a lot of good stuff in it, a lot of stuff I didn't know. It's going to be a lot of stuff you probably didn't know. We are on the 32nd anniversary of Jurassic Park and the 10th anniversary of Jurassic World. So I'm going to be taking a look at a few featurettes from the Jurassic World YouTube channel that are kind of key videos for the momentous occasion. So let's jump in today and get started, shall we?
We were working on ER, which I was going to direct as a feature film that Michael Crichton had written about his own experiences in medicine when he was an intern. And I asked him one day what he was doing next, what kind of book was he writing, and he said, all I can tell you, because all my books are secret, this book is about dinosaurs and DNA. And it changed my life because I immediately lost interest in ER as a movie and started pumping him for news about what this was all about. And that was the beginning of evolving Jurassic Park into a film.
It was the first time I remember openly defying my parents. I was about 15 years old, maybe 16, and I was grounded from seeing movies for several weeks. And a friend of mine worked at the movie theater and told me, we're going to screen Jurassic Park at midnight with just the theater employees if you can get here. So I snuck out of the house, and I don't encourage other young people to do it, but it was a very indelible memory, and it's one of the most thrilling films ever made.
I believe I was about 8 years old when Jurassic Park came to theaters, and my parents took me. Needless to say, it changed my life. It's definitely a core memory for me, and it's a core film in the history of film. You know, it's definitely one that gets referenced a lot. It's one that people remember. You can say what you want about the rest of the films in the series, but the original Jurassic Park left a, very defining exclamation point on our cultural history, and there's just no arguing that.
But I didn't just want to infuse the spirit of Jurassic Park into this movie. It was the feeling that I had watching a lot of Stevens movies and the other Amblin movies as a young kid. Ready and action! This movie is more about bringing back the feeling that all of those movies gave me. And it's not something that you can define necessarily, and it's not something you can manufacture. It's about infusing it with a soul. It just makes you feel like you want to be on that adventure with those characters.
So we're gonna go over in here. We have a room set up with some art.
I got a call from Frank Marshall after I directed a very small film called Safety Not Guaranteed, and Steven saw it, and we came in and we spoke for a little while, and we talked, not about necessarily even what this film was going to be, but about why people love this franchise, why people love these stories, and what are the elements that have connected with people over 22 years that we wanted to try and recapture for a new generation.
He had a story to tell. He didn't just come in and say, I'd like to render my services directing the 4th installment. He came in with an actual story, and just on paper, even before there was a screenplay, his story worked. The eye goes right to the visitor center, the central visitor center.
We also made sure to put a fence so you don't get eaten if you go swimming on this side.
Right.
Steven had the idea to make it a fully functioning theme park. And then the other idea that he brought forward, which I thought was fascinating, is let's make a movie about our relationship with animals on our planet right now, but replace them with dinosaurs.
Blue! Blue! Watch it.
I guess that is one of the key things about the series. A lot of people, and I had this realization yesterday when I was doing a Pokemon episode, but a lot of people villainize scientists in media, cartoons, whether it be literature, whatever. And you can call Henry Wu the villain of the series if you want, but IRL, it's very different. We're not living in a cartoon, and I think that the over romanticizing, I guess is the word I'm looking for, of religion over the years has kind of driven an anti-science sentiment, and it's driven that so deeply into our society that it's hard for people to understand reality as it is. Most people try to warp reality to fit their narrative instead of letting the actual narrative of reality inform them. And you know, this Jurassic Park was one of those films that came along at a time where adventure movies were really packing a punch. They were really big in the 80s. They were really big in the 90s. And it was that lightning in a bottle magic. You know, the relationship between ILM and Stan Winston, two masters of the craft that come together and just made something so perfect, so influential. We're still talking about it 32 years later. Now, as far as it being a soft reboot with Jurassic World, yes, that's a valid critique. I think a lot of people said, are they really opened that park after everything that happened? But I guess in canon, most people had no idea just how intense these dinosaurs were. Had no idea how intense it was to house and take care of, veterinary care, the feeding requirements, waste removal, sickness, things like that. It's the sheer reality of running a zoo is already pretty complicated, but when you add prehistoric animals we know nothing about into the mix, you know, it's going to be quite something. But you would have, it's like they said in the first Jurassic Park, we have all the problems with a major theme park and a major zoo. You're trying to operate two tourist destinations together at the same time. And to make this film believable, you would have to sit down and actualize that, not only on your head, but in paper. You'd have to make this park a living reality.
And what if humans and dinosaurs have been coexisting for a while and we get to go to the next level of that relationship? There were a lot of really interesting themes and ideas in that, so we just grabbed onto that and ran with it as far as we could.
He's always been a fan of the characters I write, and I've always been a fan of the stories he comes up with and the plotting and structure he can do. And so when we get together, it all seems to work out and create this cool, unique tone that each of us on our own don't possess, but when we come together, we can make it work.
You made a genetic hybrid, raised it in captivity. She does not even know what she is. She will kill everything that moves.
They begin making hybrids of different dinosaurs, combining them in a way that they never naturally would have been combined, meaning it's a complete manifestation of the hubris of man. Indominus wasn't bred. She was designed. Anyone that knows the Jurassic Park franchise knows that this is not a good thing.
But it's not just dinosaurs running around and something goes wrong. Colin and Derek put a real point of view into this one.
You don't learn anything about these animals except what you want to know. You made them, and now you think you own them.
Well, we do own them. We're sitting on a gold mine.
Colin has opinions about corporations doing everything for money and pushing and pushing and pushing the envelope as far as you can.
Did you close the deal?
I did. Verizon Wireless presents the Indominus Rex.
Oh, that's terrible to hear.
I stay involved in the script, in the shaping of the story. And then if the director invites me into the process, I don't like to impose myself, but if the director invites me into the process, you know, and shows me the storyboards and the previs, which Colin did, I love that. My confidence was so high in what Colin was going to achieve.
On a movie like this, especially with a director who's coming off a $750,000 movie, you would assume they would say, meet your cinematographer and meet your costume designer, and they didn't. I was able to choose my team.
There's going to be a version.
That's another one of the things that makes movie magic. When you don't micromanage every little thing, when you let the creatives be creatives, that's when you come up with an actual product that's worth a damn. Studio notes kill everything. Studio notes are like the worst thing possible in the industry. But yeah, I love the fact that the original Jurassic series was so poignant and had such a strong point to make over control and man's hubris over nature and chaos theory and all that. And here we are, 20 some odd years later, I think he said 22 years later, and the park is open and it's been running since 2005. So that's 10 years from 2005 to 2015. And they've been able to manage this park like a zoo and run it spectacularly. But then again, they start playing God with genetic manipulation and everything goes wrong. And I love the fact that satire is there. Verizon Wireless presents the Indominus Rex. Yeah, you're not there's no love lost between me and capitalism and me and corporations and things like that. I'm very much of that sentiment as well. So I think it's why I like South Park as much as I do. I'm a huge fan of satire. I'm a huge fan of hindsight and waving my finger and saying, well, that was dumb of you to do. But as much as I love these dinosaurs and as much as I love this franchise, opening a theme park full of genetic hybrids is the stupidest ideas they could have come up with. Not the filmmakers, the in-canon people.
Well, we go out in there with them, but we also want to do a version where we're behind the bars, and I think this is the behind the bars. So this can cover that? Yeah, absolutely.
I think John Schwartzman has shot some of the more beautiful films that I've seen. And he got excited about it, and we came in right away, and we're going to shoot this thing on film, or we're going to shoot 65 out in the jungle, and so we got very excited just as film nerds, and he's got one.
Also, if I may, the usual tie-in for the latest Jurassic film and Dr. Pepper have landed. If I can get it into camera and into focus. If I get too close, it'll go out of focus. Yes, shooting on film is very important to me. Shooting digitally just does not look, it doesn't have that grainy film grain that I love.
One of the best teams in the business, and it was extremely collaborative. And I brought in Daniel Orlandi, who actually had worked with Ron Howard on a lot of movies and who Bryce knew very well. And Ed Verreau, he and I worked very, very closely in trying to design a world that's not sci-fi. It's not completely.
Somebody told me that the Jurassic World trilogy was shot digitally, though, and not on film. I'll have to go back and check that. There's also been some debate in the fandom over whether or not there's like a blue filter over everything. I see a filter over it. It's clearly filtered to high heavens.
Out there, a world of the future. And I think that the movie has a very distinct, not just a look, but the way that Jurassic World feels. It succeeds at my #1 goal of the movie, which is to have a kid either look at the website or see the film and say, no, you have to take me there. That's real, right? We're going.
Welcome to Jurassic World.
Well, I initially went about casting, I think in the same way Steven has gone about casting the other films in the franchise, which is I picked the best character actors available.
But you're running, and then when you get right here, you see it, and we go boom, and it goes.
We're doing the 3D.
At that time, I wasn't aware that one of the great character actors that I chose was going to become a hugely successful movie star in the
But he wasn't when you cast him.
Not at all. No, I just cast a great actor.
No, hold your fire. You put 12 amps in these animals, they're never going to trust me again.
I thought he had the chops for this, and Colin believed in him, and I really believed in him too. So it was a bit of a risk, and of course, when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, we all thought we were really smart. Even though we didn't make Guardians of the Galaxy, they made us look really smart.
Here we are in the raptor paddock. This is the first scene that we meet Owen, and we also see Owen trying to tame these wild raptors. In fact, that's exactly what they'll look like when the movie's done. Yo.
When you,
Colin's my kind of director. He was like, look, you can't tell anybody, but your character is going to basically be training raptors ultimately for military applications. And I was like, okay, I'm in. That sounds badass.
Ready, 3, 2, 1, action!
It's a lot of running and jumping and leaping, punching, a lot of action hero moments. But For me, the biggest challenge is to not be goofy, because it's my natural instinct to be a goofball.
And Ty gave me a nice big hug because he's a sweet kid, and I was like, oh, Ty, snapped his neck.
And so,
yeah, it's got to be hard for Chris Pratt not to be a goofball. I mean, look at all of Parks and Rec. And like I said before, I definitely, like a lot of people, we've hit Chris Pratt fatigue. I know that there's some rumors out there about some problematic, like maybe political views or religious views or whatever, but Chris Pratt is Chris Pratt. I think we're all agitated, and it's become sort of a joke that every time we turn around, he's been cast in something else. He's the voice of this, the voice of that. He's in this, this, and this. He's become the new millennial Samuel L. Jackson. He's in everything, which, funny enough, Samuel L. Jackson, the original Jurassic Park.
before every take, I would have to do this little ritual to be like, don't turn into a dumbass halfway through this take.
Where we have you in reacting to that, and then that whole roof is going to come down. And then you guys are going to come out this way as this Jeep smashes into this wall.
Got it.
Okay?
No rehearsal, one take, right?
Always.
Yeah.
Bryce Dallas Howard, I think, is one of the best actresses that we have. And she is absolutely gorgeous and incredible in the movie, and it was so exciting to work with her.
The Indominus Rex, our first genetically modified hybrid, a new species built from scratch. So many great, important things come from technological advancements, but one can become myopic when one doesn't step back and look at the bigger picture. What are the greater implications of this? What are the moral implications of this? And that is what is happening right now at Jurassic World. And Claire is responsible for the park.
The implant will shock it if it gets too close to a perimeter fence.
To me, it's Claire's movie. She starts off pretty straight-laced, corporate, very uptight somewhat. It's all about meeting deadlines and margins and profits, and that's how she thinks.
Well, I've maintained for the longest that Claire was the main protagonist for the Jurassic World trilogy. Everybody talks about Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt was not the main character. He was a supporting character. It's like in the original Jurassic Park, there wasn't necessarily a main character. It was a collaborative effort. So take something like James Bond or Indiana Jones. You have your main character. Their series is named after them. With Jurassic, it doesn't work that way. Sam Neill wasn't in every Jurassic movie. Chris Pratt was not in the original trilogy. You know, there's not one central main character. You know, you're shifting focus. The screen is not, the camera's not on them at all times. So I've been there. I've seen people debate on social media and YouTube videos over the years. You know, I've seen people go ham and really just argue till they're blue in the face over who is the main protagonist. We don't have one, but if we were, in my opinion, it's Claire. You know, she was the main focal point to me. I was more interested in what she was doing and had going on than I really was Chris Pratt, because Chris Pratt was kind of echoing, he was kind of echoing that kind of, you know, rugged manliness that you had in the 90s, in the old world, you know, where we lived in a very much male-dominated society, and women were kind of put in their place by men. And we live in a new millennia now, you know, even a new decade. It's not even the 2000s anymore. And we're all just fighting for equal rights, equality, basically, to where we don't look at things through that, you know, lens anymore, and that narrow-minded view of like, well, this is man's work or this is women's work. I mean, that's still a thing, and that's fine if that's how you want to live your life. But in the professional world, in the business world, that doesn't fly anymore. So I was very much enthralled with the fact that they had a strong female lead. And Bryce, of course, she's a director herself and a great actress. And I think she knew exactly how to handle coming to a franchise like this. And I love the fact that they kept her, I guess to a lesser extent, Chris Pratt. Some days I like Chris Pratt. Some days I'm on the fence of hating his guts. It really goes back and forth. But with Bryce, I'm very happy that for the whole World trilogy, we got to keep these characters, which is not something we really did for Jurassic Park. You know, Sam Neill wasn't in The Lost World. And then Jeff Goldblum wasn't in Jurassic Park 3. Laura Dern wasn't in Jurassic Park or The Lost World either, you know. But she was in Jurassic Park 3 briefly.
Evacuate the island.
We'd never reopen.
But she ends the movie in a different place where she started.
And everyone, when I'm throwing, just a heads up, I wasn't hired for my throwing skills, so just, I don't want anyone to get clocked, like, in the eye.
When I was running with the flare and my shirt was gone and my skirt was ripped up to here and I'm super sweaty and filthy, I was just like, man, Claire has come so far in a 24-hour period. She has just really grown. I'm just really proud of Claire.
You're sure there's nobody else who can fly a helicopter?
We don't need anyone else.
Irfan Khan, Omar Sy, both of the boys, Ty Simpkins, Nick Robinson. These are all great actors. B.D. Wong came back from the first film to play his role again. And I found that all of these people just really wanted to be there.
I just thought the idea was great. You know, we've never seen a full functioning park. And I was just very excited about that. I'm like, oh man, that's so cool.
Everyone has had that moment where I've seen that little kid come on in their eyes and they're just like, this is like playtime. This is the best.
Did you guys meet yet, by the way? Yeah, I just wanted to come say, hey, I'm Chris. Man. How you doing? Nice to meet you. How are you? I'm well, thank you. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. I'm sure. Sometimes you are on big set and you feel like you are doing a big movie because you feel the pressure. But here it's not like that because of course.
I'm very glad that they kept him as well. I was very happy to see him in Dominion. Too many times we see a one-off character that does a pretty good job, you know. They're a really good character and you want to see more and you want to learn more, but you never kind of see him again.
Pauline.
He's a special man. The way he deals with actors is, he finds a moment if he wants to nudge you. It's very delicate and it has a lot of affection and friendliness. I really, really admire that, and as an actor, you need that.
We've got Vincent D'Onofrio, who, when he saw how nasty his character got to be, he was really excited about it.
You're gonna watch the news tomorrow? There's gonna be a story about how you all saved.
Yeah, I really hated this fat guy. He's kind of the new millennia's Dennis Nedry in a way. He was fun to hate.
Lives. No, better yet, how your animals saved lives.
You know, you don't approach a role like this thinking of it as the villain. You know, I love my character, and I think my character is right, and everybody else is wrong.
This is happening, with or without you.
We have Jake Johnson, who is an old friend of Colin's and was the star of Colin's other movie.
Open paddock 9.
9? You nuts?
We also have Lauren Lepkus, Judy Greer, Andy Buckley, all wonderful actors that have wanted to be a part of this movie.
Colin keeps pointing out how exciting it is to be in this movie. He'll be like, you're in Jurassic World. This is Jurassic World, which I think is so cool. I'm like, it is.
And even though the actors may be in a very small part, they really bring credibility and great talent to their roles.
Cut!
And cut.
Awesome.
Cutting.
Great. Thank you so much, you guys.
Isla Nublar.
We knew we had to go to a green environment in order to do the jungle work. We thought about Costa Rica. It doesn't really have the same kind of infrastructure that other places have, and it made a lot more sense to go to Hawaii.
Now, is there any way we can do it so we can see this side of him? Can he hug on this side so we can see it?
Yeah, so if the camera's there...
We started our first day at the Honolulu Zoo, and that was going to be the petting zoo. And so we did a few things, we added a few things, we put some flags and stuff up. And then we had actors actually going around in gray suits being the little baby dinosaurs, and kids were riding them and all that stuff. And that's kind of how we started our day. It was a fairly easy day. It gave the crew a chance to kind of coalesce and, you know, kind of work together for a little bit.
I can still ride the Triceratops in 47.5 inches.
This place is for little kids.
All right, cut.
And cut. Cutting.
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
And then we began to move out. We moved across the island up over to the ChozoLore Ranch, and we did a whole bunch of stuff up there at the loading platform.
What they didn't know at the time is that the soft tissue is preserved because of the iron in the dinosaur's blood generates free radicals.
Good, now a little bit louder, a little bit more hyped up.
What do you think's gonna happen from you just staring at them?
Look at him and laugh. Cut.
That's embarrassing.
That's embarrassing. We had the gyrosphere loading platform, which we built out in Hawaii, and then this gyrosphere, which we didn't shoot that on a soundstage. We had these kids out in this thing, traveling around through the jungle, and that stuff to me feels completely real.
Anytime you do stuff practical effects, it's gotta be infinitely better. I will say that Jurassic World, for as much as I'm not a fan of too much CGI and blue screen, green screen stuff, it was still a very believable film. I believed they were on that island.
Hawaii did feel like a real Jurassic Park because it was so jungly. I actually felt like I was lost or I was in Jurassic Park.
You'll see like a blur, and then you'll see it's definitely a dinosaur, and then you see it's a dinosaur you've never seen before. And then,
It was so beautiful and picturesque, and they had these giant gyrosphere balls on tracks, and they'd have a guy with a remote control driving it along, and I'd just be pretending to maneuver it on the joystick. It was pretty awesome.
Go! Go! Go!
Hey,
Go!
hey. And 3, 2.
I also love the jungle. Like, I like this kind of jungle where it's not super thick, you got a lot of ground, and of course it's so beautiful the way that the sunbeams come through the trees like that.
2, 1, drop! Drop! Drop!
It was pretty physical, and you know, I didn't do any training or anything before this, and so we get here and I'm running down fields trying to keep up with an ATV while there's a supposed Indominus Rex behind us. Some of the days, it was a good workout, kicked my ass. I mean, Ty's in better shape than I am, probably, so I was out there like huffing and puffing.
Ball pass, please. Ball pass.
I didn't say we'd make it easy.
We move over to gyro.
We gotta go.
Basically, they're being chased by our big bad dinosaur.
1, 2, come on.
And they come across a waterfall, and that's their only way to get away from the dinosaur that's going to eat them. It's a 40-foot waterfall. The boys, they did all of the beauty shots at the edge, and then when we jumped, we had 2 doubles jump off.
Action!
We saw them go down in the water, and then we go back down below and have the boys go underneath the water and pop up like they did the jump themselves.
They put me in a helicopter, and I could look down and see the Indominus Rex paddock, and I was like, man, I'm definitely in a Jurassic movie. It was quite an introduction.
The park needs a new attraction every few years to reinvigorate the public's interest.
The paddock, the idea was that way up country, away from prying eyes, they had built this large containment for this new asset that was not just a dinosaur, it was something else. So we had to build at least 2 walls of this paddock and a big observation room. We built a fairly big set.
It's built out in the jungles in Kauai. We're talking 90-foot walls, maybe 150 yards wide, 2 stories. All the greens were brought in. I mean, it was amazing.
Dinosaur.
Right, cut. According to my watch, I just ran 65 miles an hour. Oh.
That's cheetah speed.
Oh, sorry, my watch actually isn't capable of telling that, sorry. It's an estimate.
Chris Pratt's gonna give this message here.
All right, listen. Cars, they fall from the sky sometimes.
Right, thanks, Chris. Okay, here we go, guys.
construction.
We did a lot of practical stuff in the paddock, and so that was kind of the first time that we kind of started getting into a little bit of action on Jurassic World.
3, 2, 1, go! We're about to shoot Eric Edelstein, who is an unfortunate paddock worker who's about to be eaten.
If you look like me, you're not going to make it to the end of the movie. It's a giant bummer.
3, 2, 1, pull!
Yeah, the fatties never live to the end of the movie. It's always got to be your thin Hollywood stars that make it to the end.
We're not allowed to take video. Don't tell anybody.
Thank you so much. You really make me look like I know what I'm doing, and I couldn't do this without you. Thank you. Have an incredible 3-day weekend.
Thanks for letting me do that. Crazy.
We'll get the moment when its head comes up, and she goes, and that'll be its like last breath of life moment. I think
Are you with us, Coach?
Yeah, absolutely.
Colin said we need to have a working animatronic in this movie because that's how this series of movies was built.
What I wanted to do is use animatronics in a moment of intimacy. And we had a scene where they were going to come upon this fallen apatosaurus who was going to die. And so John Rosengrant and the guys from Legacy all came in with this extraordinary creature that they'd created.
The day that we had our one animatronic dinosaur on the set was a very special day. It was sort of an homage and an honor to Stan Winston's wonderful animatronics on the first Jurassic.
So it starts from the head, which Rich operates. Trevor takes the neck. And I do the breathing operation. Different bladders in the throat and mouth.
That's great. The exhale as she falls is beautiful.
Did you hear that, Jason? Your exhale when she was falling was great.
Hey, only take 3. And action.
There's a very emotional scene where this thing is dying in my arms. And so it was really helpful to be holding something real that looks so real and is so beautiful.
As puppeteers, it's making these things live and perform. It's bringing a character to life. Unfortunately, in this case, it's bringing one to its death. But in doing that, it's telling a story.
There's something almost spiritual in that scene as the life leaves this animal. You don't feel like it's a robot ceasing to be operated. You feel like the spirit and the soul of this creature is going up into the sky, and that's a testament to those guys. I mean, that was unbelievable.
Okay, she's starting to go. Not too much life left. She's going.
That was a rough scene. That makes me want to cry every time I watch it. Oh, man. Yeah, I got nothing to say. It's a rough scene.
1, 2, 3, 6. She's gone.
When Chris and I were getting to act with that animatronic dinosaur, there was such a performance, and getting to see that and interact with that, it was really emotional.
I just wanted to take a say, it was just such a huge honor and a privilege for me in my life as a filmmaker and as a person to have John Rosengrant and Legacy here doing this today. It meant a lot to me, and I know a lot of us. Footprints, right? So you just move right in, right when he's done talking to you there, and you meet him.
Okay, let's try it again.
We shot in Oahu and Kauai, and then we moved to New Orleans. It was about 50% Hawaii, 50% Louisiana.
One of the interesting things about being here in New Orleans is we're able to take advantage of not only the exteriors, but all of these great sets that we built here at the Big Easy Studios, which is on the NASA campus.
We had 6 stages here that we had sets in. So we had the visitor center, and then we had connected to the visitor center is the genetics lab. So and this was all part of the Jurassic World experience. We also had the old visitor center.
Yeah, they have the Jurassic World tour, which is kind of like a musical with people in suits and stuff. And then they have the Jurassic World Experience, which is a kind of a walkthrough thing. You walk through sets of the lab and everything, and they have little things set up where you can interact, like a hatchery and whatnot. And it's funny because I don't remember what year this was, but a few years ago, I kind of knew they both existed, but I kind of got them confused. And one day I was listening to the radio in the car, which is funny because I never do that anymore. It's commercials and it's just annoying. But the one time I turned the radio on, there was an advertisement for Jurassic World, and they were coming to Birmingham, which is the centralmost city in the state I live, Alabama. And, you know, I live on the eastern side of the state in kind of the middle of nowhere, so it's about a 45-minute drive. And I said, oh, that's totally doable. I can get there like that. I can hop the car and go. And I called Tyler, my best friend, and I said, you know, you have no option to order these tickets. You know, get online, do it now. I'm driving, you do it. And he did. He got online and ordered 2 tickets, and we paid through the nose for them. I got home and was really happy about it. And I remember the closer it got, I started looking into it, and I realized I'd made a huge mistake. I had confused the 2 events. You know, I had no interest in like the ice capades experience. I wanted the walkthrough experience, which is closest to me would be in Georgia, which is still, it's about a 2-hour drive from here to Atlanta. So it's doable. It's just I got the 2 confused, and Tyler was, you know, he was a little agitated at me, but that's fair. I kind of made a big mistake there and not paying more attention to what I was doing. We tried to refund the tickets, but you couldn't. We tried to sell them secondhand. Nobody wanted them. I remember Tyler gave them to a former coworker of his, and she was going to take her son. And then something came up and they ended up not going. So I think the tickets just kind of went to waste. But it was an experience from start to finish of learning not to get overexcited and to make sure that I'm thorough about what I'm doing and the plans I'm making. I still very much want to go to the Jurassic World Experience, and I don't know if I'll get to before they stop doing them.
In the control room, which is where a lot of the movie takes place.
Let me be as clear as I can. No velociraptors are going to be set loose on this island.
Yeah, you're out of your mind.
We were just shooting in control room, and so much is going on, and it's big. All the computers, all the gadgets to control things, and then there's so many sections of the screen where you can see what's happening where in every corner of the park.
Send a team of rangers out there, bring them in.
Security, we need a search and rescue in the valley.
The control room is a place where you can really knit everything together. And so by the time we got there, we knew the movie and we knew what we'd shot. And if there were things that we had to tweak to make sure that everything made sense, we could.
She goes like, no, I'm coming to you, call a helicopter. I already did. Just get here now. It's on the way, just get here now. Yeah.
We didn't do any reshoots on this movie. And I think the control room is what allowed us to cover all of the bases that a lot of people usually have to cover in reshoots, which is, this didn't work out the way we thought it was going to work out. Let's go fix that. There was nothing that we couldn't fix in that control room.
Her tracking implant, she clawed it out.
How would it know to do that?
She remembered where they put it in.
We not only did a lot of interior sets, but we were able to build some of our sets outside. We have the Raptor Arena, which we built.
We had always been talking nebulously about the scene where Owen trains the raptors. I'm like, how do you train a raptor? Like, what does that look like? Where are you? What building are you in? And so I had to kind of describe what it looked like. And, you know, I said it had this crisscross catwalk that's so many feet up above the ground, and it's, you know, enclosed. And then I show up, and it's exactly how I described it.
Really, really a cool set. I mean, that thing is built of steel and cement. That is no joke. That thing could house dangerous animals for hundreds of years and would never break down. It's really, really sharp.
This guy here, I don't remember his name. I remember I had become friends with him on Instagram years ago. We spoke a few times. I remember asking him about his beanie. I remember asking him, is that something you wore to the set on your own, or was it something that they had you wear as part of like the character outfit? I should have remembered what he said, but unfortunately I can't remember what his response was.
And then we took over the abandoned Six Flags theme park.
It was under 6 feet of water as a result of Hurricane Katrina. And so they let the park go, and it just sits there completely unused. But it happens to have a parking lot that's about the size of 10 football fields. So we went and built certainly the biggest set that I've ever built that just goes on and on and on.
What Colin was really going for, and I think that we hit this pretty well, was he wanted it not to be sort of Coney Island-like. He wanted it to feel more like a really hip, elegant destination.
We wanted to create this high level of luxury. We wanted it to feel like a Fiji resort with dinosaurs.
One of the very fun things for me was my good friend Jimmy Buffett's restaurant, Margaritaville, is sort of the marquee restaurant there on the main street.
We put in Winston's, which was shout to Stan Winston. There were a lot of little buried things like that.
You develop the set and you build it, and there's this long design curve and building curve, and then all of a sudden there's 800 extras walking around.
The most we ever had was 1,000, but we dressed several thousand because they, every day we had new people. They wanted new people all the time.
Please keep it quiet so that the crew can continue to work. We are rehearsing inside. Thank you very much.
And the first big day that we had 1,000 extras, I think we got to work at 3 a.m. and started dressing extras. We'd pre-fit a lot of them. We had pre-fit the uniforms, but we had a lot of people coming in that day. And I like to, when an extra comes in, you look at them and say, okay, what is your character? So it's kind of fun. It's like you give every extra their 15 minutes of attention to get them dressed and figure out their character. You look good.
Thank you.
You're done.
Nothing else?
No.
All right.
The performances of these extras were incredible. I mean, they were truly horrified, and there was nothing in the sky.
In Titanic, when they were trying to break open that door and everyone was just, that's what we're going for.
It's amazing how committed they became, and I think everybody shared this truth. They're like, oh my God, we're in a Jurassic Park movie, you guys. And we all just kind of became kids for a day. And I haven't made enough of these movies to not be really enthusiastic all the time. So when you get me on a set with 1,000 people who are all running from, flying dinosaurs, there's an infectious energy to that.
And cut it! That was awesome.
I don't think that anyone is ever going to stop being obsessed with dinosaurs at all. And so these movies, I think, in a way, will always be relevant. But I think this movie, in particular, at this moment, is very timely. It's almost like a cautionary tale. We see the consequences of ethics not being as developed as technology.
Which was always Michael Crichton's dream. He took a very moral interest in his own story about just because we can invent something, should we? And that was a big theme of the first film, and I think that really echoes throughout Jurassic World.
And it's a fine line to walk, and I think that's why me, as a fan of Jurassic Park, I feel comfortable knowing that it's in the hands of Colin, because he is also a fan.
To be able to be surrounded by people who were so thrilled, they knew it was a special time, they knew it was a special moment.
Yeah, we kind of feel like we snuck into the party. This is so fun. You know how fun this is? This is so fun.
And action!
I feel like I was a child getting to make a movie with, all the big lights and the cameras. And that spirit that we had on set, I think, is infused into the movie, and I think you feel it when you watch it.
There you have it. Jurassic World. All in all, I have to say it's been kind of a journey from start to finish, you know, going from Jurassic Park in '93 all the way to World in 2015, and here we are in 2025, and Jurassic World Rebirth comes out next month. It's definitely something to wrap your head around, that this franchise has endured the way that it has. You know, everything has its highs and its lows, its peaks and its valleys, but this series has always remained strong start to finish, and you know, it's still my #1 favorite franchise of all time, my favorite intellectual property. I think it's going to be that way for the rest of my life. I love the fact that they take excruciatingly good care when they make one of these movies. They make sure to do it right. And I've heard a lot of detractors, you know, there's a lot of people who've said a lot of horrible, terrible things, and I get it. I get that it's not everybody's cup of tea, and not every movie can be perfect. Not every Jurassic movie can capture what the original films captured, but you just kind of got to roll with the punches, man. I know I goof on Dominion a lot as being the weakest, but in all honesty, I'm gonna soon, if not this month, I'm gonna sit down and rewatch the whole trilogy, and I'm gonna see if it holds up to my original scrutinies or if it has endured. And because, you know, keep in mind, when Dominion was made, we were in lockdown, and it was very hard for people to work in person. A lot of people were working from home because of the pandemic. So it's one of those things, man. It's one of those things. But it's Jurassic June, and I'm looking forward to working on a lot more for you guys, get a lot more content up on the channel. Be sure to check out the rest of the Jurassic World playlist. Be sure to check out the official Jurassic World YouTube channel, as that is where we pull a lot of the content we look at from. And stay tuned for Jurassic playthroughs on the gaming side of my channel. The Switch 2 just came out, so I'm trying to work on Mario Kart and a half dozen other playthroughs, but promise I will get everything wrapped up before the summer is over. Summer is just starting. We've got 3 whole months of it being too deathly hot to go outside, so we're going to try and get as much done as we can. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for allowing me to do more on my channel than just the gaming stuff. These videos are very important to me. And with that, I'll leave you with your memories of how, you know, how great this series is. 10 years of Jurassic World. It's something else.